Voices from the Hidden Kingdom is a program dedicated to sharing North Korean refugee stories, facts about their homeland, and facilitate conversations around some of the most pressing issues that the people face today and into the future. New Korea Foundation International acts as an intermediary, advocate, and public-facing voice for those willing to share their knowledge and experiences with you, the listener. All names have been changed to protect all participants and their family members who may remain in North Korea. 116 years of oppression. Welcome to this first broadcast of Voices from the Hidden Kingdom. I'm your host, Kelly Sadler, and I'm honored to be entrusted with the many stories, testimonies, and perspectives of the North Korean refugees that I've met through the years. But before I get too far ahead of myself, I think it's really important to touch on the historical context of how and why the Korean Peninsula is comprised of two countries, but one people that share the same history, legends, landscape, and more. The following is a brief summarized overview of a long and complex history. The Korean Peninsula has long been regarded as a bountiful, prosperous, and strategic piece of land nestled between mainland China, modern-day Russia, and Japan. Naturally, when the Korean people migrated there, they saw all of its beauty and its potential as well. Through the years, imperialism and regional conflicts rose until they reached their peak with the start of the Sino-Japanese War of 1894, in which Korea was the ultimate prize. Wanting to further establish this land buffer between China and itself, Japan occupied and annexed the 1,214-year-old unified kingdom. They occupied, controlled, and oppressed the people and the landscape of Korea, starting in 1910 and until their surrender in 1945 at the end of World War II. Due to multiple factors, the Soviet Union had their eyes on the Korean Peninsula and Japan for their own imperialist expansion. However, in 1945, the peninsula was split along the 38th parallel, with USSR occupying the north and U.S. forces occupying the south. This split and occupation was framed around two things. Firstly, it was needed in order to remove all of the Japanese that were still there. Secondly, it wasn't intended to be permanent. Unfortunately, the Korean people weren't consulted, and as time passed, neither USSR or USA were willing to relinquish their hopes, dreams, and aspirations for the Korean people or their self-driven geopolitical goals. This eventually led to the Soviet-fueled invasion of the South by forces from the North in 1950. What resulted was a bloody and very deadly multinational war that only halted after 3 years. As a result of the Armistice Agreement, the U.S. military, North Korean Army, and the People's Republic of China signed and agreed to halt the fighting. The boundary between the North and South was firmly established. Families found themselves further separated geographically and torn apart politically and ideologically. While South Korea moved forward, built industry, emphasized culture, arts, education, and built finance, all on a global stage, North Korea shut out the world, leaned on the concept of self-reliance, or juche, and built their system around a communist dynasty, centered around the cult of personality, Kim Il-sung. Through propaganda, rigid laws, deeply defined classism, or songbun, and the total control of every aspect of life via an aggressive police state, North Koreans found themselves deeper under control and oppression than ever before. Meanwhile, South Korea eventually moved forward, became a constitutional democracy, and has established themselves as the 15th largest economy in the world. The people of North Korea have lived under oppression, poverty, and total control since the Japanese occupation of 1895, annexation of 1910, and all the way to today. Approximately 130 years of uncertainty, trauma, lies, a lack of human rights and protections, self-identity, faith, and so much more. Now, all of this being said, please understand that there is so much more complexity and nuance to Korean history. I really want to encourage you to read and research further so that you can truly understand the issues that the North and South are facing today. For those who may be unaware, the North Korean political punishment system utilizes a 3 to 8 generations imprisonment or execution methodology called kin punishment, or yonjate. Through compounded generational imprisonment, it is believed that offenders will eventually forget the offense and return to loyalty or die trying. This is oddly like the 131 years of coercive, economic, and oppressive control that North Koreans have lived under. There is no one left that remembers true freedom, the fight for independence, preservation of culture, or true peace. Their lives have been, and history have been, gradually erased. And just as information going into their country is blocked and banned, information coming out of the country is strictly controlled and banned as well. The majority of information that the world receives is provided from the refugees, seniors who were born there, external underground networks, and various government agencies doing the reporting. Outside of these extremely valuable sources of information, the North Korean people are voiceless and invisible to the world, defined only by the actions of the regime. When I asked several of my North Korean friends about the history that they had learned and anything that they had heard from their family members regarding the Sino-Japanese War, the Korean War, and any of the history pieces, I found myself astounded at what I'd heard. Perhaps the most interesting information came from my friend Justin, who had graciously sat down with me for an interview, which I'll play for you now.
The sad thing in about Korean Peninsula was that the United States and other great powers like mainly United States and Soviet Union, they didn't divide Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, after the end of the World War II, they consider the Korean Peninsula as the Japanese territory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of the international law, and back into 1919, after Japan won the World War One, and then
Mm-hmm.
The great powers like officially approved Korean Peninsula as a part of Japanese territory at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So as I learned, as I educated, the Soviet Unions and the United States divided the Korean Peninsula like in terms of the Japanese territory. Not they didn't see it as a Korea at the time. So that was sad things for Korea. And one thing I remember, like my great grandparents always told me that when I was in North Korea, like they loved the Japanese empire than North Korean government, like
Sure.
And because like my grandmother, like step grandmother, but I don't remember. I didn't remember my actual grandmother because she was died when I was 4 years old. Yeah, so I had a good memory with my step grandmother, and then we went to the river like for laundry every week, and then she always told me that, oh, I wish I could live in Japanese empire uh, compared to these situations. And then I asked her like, why, and then she told me that they were, I mean, treated better than under Kim Il Sung, like there was no suppression or no repression under Japanese empire, Japanese era, and then But as she said, those Korea regime is more brutal to its people, and I think that's all I remember about when people I mean when those Koreans are talking about Japanese era, right? Yeah.
And your parents never talked about it.
Yeah, we never
About
talk about it because like I mean as you know the those Korea is like has very strict uh the systems to look at each other, right? So
And did your grandmother, grandparents, or your parents ever talk about like what happened with the Korean War?
no,
Or
I've uh because they used to live in the those I guess the South Korean and United States soldiers came. Yeah, they I think they mentioned about something, but they've never met a United States soldiers or South Korean soldiers during the war. Yeah, and then grandfather served the army during the war. My father told me that he escaped from the army during the war. Yeah, so after war, he was in prison for like I don't remember the exact years for few years.
sure, sure.
Yes, that's why my family has a very bad political backgrounds in North Korea.
When you were growing up, do you talk about like history or discussion of the various conflicts and
No,
as it prepares, or is it just not discussed?
no, I mean, in terms of I think history, like they mainly talk about Japanese era
Mm-hmm.
and how I mean they were evil and uh I mean for to treat Koreans at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
then also like we were uh talking about Korean War. I mean
Mm-hmm.
and during the Korean War like Americans were evil and to kill every I mean any Koreans if uh they based on their feeling like it's like one missionary was in Pyongyang and then
Mm-hmm.
one those Korean boy like uh entered his house and then stealing something and then the missionary caught him and then just executed him in front of people like something talking about some mass killing by Americans like
Mm-hmm.
so I think mainly talking about Japanese era and the Korean War in history class
Sure.
and then one the other part is about Kim Il Sung or Kim Jong Il's history, and I think we already discuss about the Joseon dynasty. Like they have a class, but it's not important. Have a different perspective about Joseon dynasty. So Lee Sung-gae, who was the first king of the Joseon dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
In North Korea, he's treated as a betrayer of the Korea.
So the perspective is the same. Do you think across the whole peninsula, North and South Korea, that this guy was kind of a betrayal to the people as a whole?
Yeah, but I mean, I think they share some uh same opinions
Mm-hmm.
about some points, and then also different opinions for
Mm,
different
sure.
period. Yes, I came out in 2011,
Mm,
and then 2012 was the 100 years of the birthday of Kim Il Sung.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they announced that in 20 2012 they will become a strong country, which means like giving people to drive in their life,
Mm-hmm.
and then also like in terms of military becomes of the strong country. But every people like including my ages,
Mm.
they always talking about where is the gate for strong country. Oh, I want to enter the strong country, but I couldn't find the gate. And we said, oh, that gate is for only for elites or only for Pyongyang people, like some.
There's just so much to think about. You probably get tired of talking about it.
No, it's okay.
What I hope to help people understand is that this is real and that you're a real person. You're smart
Yeah,
and you're a good student and you have a dream of what you're going to do, and you personally, you are not the regime, you're not the dynasty, but you have so many amazing things to offer this entire world.
I'm happy to share my thoughts about things.
I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so
Otherwise,
much. See you later.
yep,
Yep.
bye.
Justin is currently a college student earning his master's degree in political science with an emphasis in international relations. He's been accepted to many top universities and is working to sharpen his skills for his future. He's just one of many examples of the capacity and the potential of the North Korean people. Now, even though this interview was conducted a little while ago, I've had so much on my mind as I continue to digest the history of North Korea, the long-term oppression of the people, Justin's contributions, and how the North Korean people really have survived under violence, silencing, occupation, and extensive pressure for more than 10 decades, enduring brutality and total control, disrespect, and witnessing the deaths of approximately 5.5 million family members via war, famine, and democide. Most of which were innocent people, just day-to-day civilians. Further, my conversation with Justin really emphasized that the North Korean people cannot talk freely about their history, discuss facts and opinions without consequences, that any history that they hear is not about the people or the nation, but rather is exclusively centered on their leaders, and that there's a pervasive belief that any hope for unity, peace, prosperity, etc., it's not intended for the everyday people of North Korea. And that's really heavy to think about, but it's necessary to truly understand what's going on. Here in the West, we've all heard a quote by George Santayana. Most of us don't know who wrote it, but we've heard it. And that quote is, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." In the case of the North Korean people, the carefully crafted historical narratives, a system of total control, the cult of personality status around the Kim regime and their can do no wrong narratives and view, along with an overwhelming existence of abuse and neglect of the people, thus emphasizing a division between the haves and have-nots. It's deeply rooted in silence around the historical truths. This is truly a scenario from which there's really no escape, at this time anyway. For the rest of the world, this isn't just a simple passing warning about what happens when power hides oppression. Rather, as global citizens, we need to document and learn history, know the facts versus only the opinions, share truths freely, and take action to ensure freedom for all people. As Christians, we've been instructed many times on how we are to respond to the oppression of others, murder, manipulation, altered truths, crooked kings and leaders, the foreigner, and more. We've been told. We're personally called to speak for the voiceless, protect the innocent, lend a hand, be Christ-like examples in everything, and love all people with the same love that Christ had for us on the cross. As we all go forward today, I want to challenge each of you to firstly hold space and pray for our North Korean brothers and sisters within their homeland, as well as in places all around the world. Secondly, I want to make you aware of an opportunity where you can send a message into North Korea via our New Korea Hope broadcast stationed in East Asia. Through this broadcast, you can share messages of hope, encouragement, and more with people hidden from the world. Just send your message of hope to NKHB, as in boy, 316 at gmail.com. Again, that's NKHB316 at gmail.com. Thirdly, if you enjoyed this initial podcast of Voices from the Hidden Kingdom, be sure to click like and subscribe and share it with your friends and family. We can't continue to grow and share these stories without your support. And lastly, I'd like to invite you to the next episode where we will once again discuss complex issues surrounding North Korea and the North Korean people. Until then, 안녕히 가세요 and goodbye. Voices from the Hidden Kingdom was brought to you by New Korea Foundation International, a U.S.-based 501c3 advocating for North Korean refugees, their nation, and their families. Thank you for listening.